Yeah, we miss you around here in St. Louis. Somehow we
I was going to say, you'll forgive me.
how we lost you in the trade, I have no idea. But he's in the outpost in Kansas City with the Show Me Institute. All right, Michael McShane, a lot of talk about this Title IX and new guidelines. Make some sense for all this for us.
Sure. So, news story in the last couple of weeks, because Betsy DeVos has reopened what was some Obama-era guidance around how universities are supposed to handle accusations of sexual assault. So what really made the news was back in 2011 when the Department of Education released what's called a Dear Colleague letter. So it's not quite as strong as official regulation, still carries a lot of weight with institutions, that really spelled out how universities are supposed to deal with these accusations. The upshot of this, and there have been some really incredible stories that have been written about this in The Atlantic and Reason Magazine and others, is that in many cases the due process rights of those who are accused of these crimes have been trampled on. Some campuses have set up what amount to sort of kangaroo courts. They don't follow what we would consider kind of standard procedures of investigation, of evidence, et cetera. And lots of people are getting kind of railroaded. People who are innocent of crimes are being accused of them and getting thrown out of school for it. Victims are not actually getting the justice that they deserve. So it's kind of a mess. So what Betsy DeVos did, like I said, a week or two ago, is say, we're going to reopen this. We're going to have an open period of comment, so all the different interest groups that are involved can have their say. And then we are going to clarify the guidance that the Federal Department of Education sends down to universities regarding these cases.
Why is a university responsible for a sexual assault allegation on a campus, right? I mean, I understand it's a private land in some instances. It's public land, but what is the university sticking their nose in? How come the police and the prosecutors aren't doing it?
So this is my question entirely. What the Obama administration did was basically take Title IX. So most of us are familiar with Title IX because of sports. Back in the early 1970s, Title IX was passed as part of a kind of broader education bill. It's a very short piece of legislation that essentially says that any educational program that gets federal dollars cannot discriminate on the basis of sex. The Obama administration took that and really ran with it and sort of said it's not just about sports anymore, it's not just about offerings, but under that, universities actually have the obligation to pursue these. Now, I'm with you. My personal preference, if I were offering advice during this sort of open process, is that these heinous crimes, and I don't think anybody wants to diminish that or in any way say, I mean, this is the absolute horrible, horrible crime. They need to be handled by the professionals. This stuff needs to be turned over to the police, turned over to prosecutors. Universities are just not in a good position. In many of these cases, universities just appoint a Title IX coordinator, so someone who just works at the university. And the way the guidance was written is to use what's called a single investigator model, where essentially this university employee who may have specialized training, who may not, who may be a lawyer, who may not, acts as the detective, the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury in the case. It's just one person that deals with all of this. So it's just a recipe for disaster. Our criminal justice system has, protections built into it, both so that those who are innocent are not convicted and so that those are guilty are punished for their crimes.
Yeah. Sort of like the football team doing the investigation on the allegations that the star running back was, doing something wrong on Saturday night.
Yeah, there's a reason we don't do that. There's a reason we bring in outside people. And we have rules around things like evidence and cross-examination of witnesses and the right to know the charges that are being leveled against you. And in every one of these cases with these assaults, some of these young men don't even know what they're being accused of until the judgment has come down. So they don't even know, can I submit evidence? How will this be weighed out? Can I say whether what happened or not? I mean, it's crazy. And like I said, there are some of these heartbreaking stories, both from the perspective of those who are accused of these crimes and the victims of these crimes that have come out where just justice is not being done in these cases.
Well, we do know that sexual assault on campus is through the roof, and we also know that women don't like to come forward for all sorts of reasons. So was this a way to sort of help mitigate some of these women, to actually give them some protection in coming forward?
Yes, and in some of these cases, in fact, the victim doesn't have to participate in the investigation. It can be done from outside claims and others. And so again, I think the path to hell is paved with good intentions. You're exactly right. It's a horribly traumatic experience. They don't want to re-traumatize the person who is the victim of these crimes, and I totally get that. But unfortunately, the only way that we can be assured that people get a fair trial, think of there are any number of horrific crimes that have to go through the proper channels. Murder, right? Can you think of something, more horrible than that? But people who are accused of murder have the right to know the charges that are levied against them. They have the right to engage with the evidence and others, even though they've done something horrible. The only way that we know that we're going to have a fair system is if we have due process for all the people who are involved.
Mike McShane, more on the website?
Yep, absolutely. ShowMeInstitute.org.
Mike McShane, stuck in Siberia, a.k.a. Kansas City, Director of Education Policy for the Show Me Institute. Michael, have a good week. Thanks.